All right, everybody, warm welcome. So today we'll do what is very rarely done in our life. It's probably one of the most rare things that happens in our life. So it goes like this, that our whole life we have been experiencing things based on our sense doors. So we have seen things, we have smelt things, heard things, tasted, touched, and we've thought about things. Once in a while, there is some kind of intuition, some kind of guidance that also happens. But in today's practice, we're going to touch something that is, we're going to touch something that we haven't probably done ever, or we've done it very rarely in our life. So what is that? We're going to be, let me say it in a different way. What is it like for a point, a dot? What is it like for a dot to understand a line? What is it like for a dot to understand a line? What is it like for a line to understand a cube? So the dot has to make a whole leap of understanding to understand a line. A line has to make a whole leap of understanding to understand a cube. And that's just the 3 dimensions we are aware of. 1 dimension is a dot, 2 dimensions, forward, backward is a line, 3 dimensions, up, down, left, right, and depth is a cube. So today the invitation is for you to challenge yourself to look beyond the sensory experience you've had all your life. There's no how to this. You can't say, Nithya, how do we do this? But if there was a how, you would have done it by now. So there's no how, but you just have to do it anyway. It's like you have to push the boundaries of your consciousness. Right? So I'm going to invite you to do this again and again. There's no, like I said, there's no real method. There's no method for a dot to understand a line. It has to make a leap. All right, so sit comfortably. Eyes can be open or closed. In something like this, posture has no relevance. In fact, even your state of mind has no relevance. Whether you're having a pleasant day, an unpleasant day, whether you're feeling in flow, or you're feeling blocked, completely irrelevant. So exactly where you are right now, that's the place from which you're going to make this leap. Good, let's start. What's it like for you to look beyond the realm of the 6 senses? What's beyond seeing, beyond hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking, extrasensory perception? It's a strange question because how can you experience something you've never experienced? But we do it anyway. So beyond the range of what you're seeing, some of you, your eyes are open, some of them are closed. Irrespective of whether they're open or closed, you're seeing something. Even with closed eyes, you see something. What's beyond that? You're hearing something. You're hearing my voice. You may be hearing other background sounds. What's beyond the range of the herd? You might be smelling something or not so much in your environment. Even to not smell something is a kind of smell. What's beyond the range of your smell? You might be tasting something, or maybe there's no taste in the mouth. Even no taste is a kind of taste. What's beyond the range of taste? You might be touching something, feeling something. What's beyond the range of touching and feeling? And of course, we think, which is a combination of all of the other sense doors, including memories. But our memories and our intentions, our desires, if you look at it carefully, they're thoroughly conditioned by what we've seen, what we've heard, smelt, tasted, touched, some combination of that. What's beyond the range of thinking, cognizing, perceiving, conceiving? So I'm asking you to do the impossible, but do it anyway. And do it with such intensity that this world of the senses starts to fade. Seeing starts to fade, hearing starts to fade, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking starts to fade. And that becomes prominent. That which cannot be described. It's like you're trying to push your way through a wall. How can you push your way through a wall? But you do it anyway. But don't do it in a way that creates frustration. Do it in a very relaxed way. You're pushing your understanding beyond the wall of these 6 sensory devices. And just keep pushing. And let that become more familiar than this. Let that become more real than this. Let that become more tangible than this. Recognize that as your real home and this as a vacation home. The whole world of the known shrinks to the size of a beach ball, shrinks to the size of a football. The whole world of the known, all your experiences, memories, plans, desires, intentions, every book you've ever read, every philosophy you've ever encountered, shrinks to the size of a ping pong ball, table tennis ball. Shrinks to the size of a pea mutter. Shrinks to the size of a dot. Shrinks to the size of an atom. and shrinks into the mystery beyond the atom. You can't get away from it, but it no longer dominates you. It no longer grips you. The world of the known, the world of the six senses, you can't get away from it. But it no longer overwhelms your awareness, captivates your awareness, hypnotizes your full attention. The indescribable, the ineffable, the inconceivable, beyond the beyond the beyond. Gate gate paragate parasangate bodhi swaha. Gone, gone, gone beyond the beyond. Awake at last. And whatever experience you're having is still in the domain of experiences. If you can describe to me later on, oh, I felt this, felt peaceful, felt joyful, you're still in the domain of experiences. What's beyond that experience? Here's a radical thought. You can't experience it. It can experience you. You cannot experience it. Sorry, you can't. It can experience you. Play with that for a bit. And your challenge is to do this in an intense yet relaxed way. If it's only intense, you'll burn out. If it's only relaxed, you'll fade out. You have to be simultaneously intense and relaxed. The more intense you get, the more relaxed you get. What's beyond everything I've seen, heard, smelt, tasted, touched, and thought? What's beyond everything I've read and heard? What's beyond my imagination? And really ask, for once in your life, ask this question in all seriousness. Like you really mean it. Earnest but not arrogant. Consistent, but not pushy, not restless. Find this delicate balance. Again and again, the known world will assert itself. And again, you will bring it down to the size of a beach ball, to the size of a football, to the size of a ping pong table tennis ball, to the size of a pea, to the size of a dot, an atom, and the mysteries beyond the atom. Break the habit of being so hypnotized by the known world. It's a slightly cheesy thing to say, but it's true that I'm asking you to do something impossible. And yet within the word impossible, I'm possible. So while it's impossible, you do it anyway. Let that become more real than this. Let that become more familiar than this. Let that become bigger than this. Let that begin to feel like your real home, and this begin to feel like a vacation home. And the reason we will fail at this is we will still try to experience it from our perspective. And yet we will succeed because it will experience us from its perspective. This flip is bound to happen, but you can't force it. You can just reach out. It's the biggest relief of your life to shift from being the experiencer to being the experienced. It's like you've put down the weight of 1,000 mountains that you didn't even know you were carrying. So go ahead and lean into this. What's beyond the seeing, the hearing, the smelling, the tasting, the touching, the feeling, the thinking. What's beyond the known world. Go on and lean into this. That leaning itself is blissful. And there's something beyond that bliss. The reason it's blissful is it's a wink from your inner being. You're on the right track. Finally, you're on the right track. And yet it's beyond the bliss. It's far beyond the bliss. In fact, this blissful state is filled with delightful things. You will awaken creativity here. Things never thought of before, never heard before. Poetry will flow through you. Art, ideas will flow through. Siddhis will come to you. And yet don't get trapped. Go beyond. Go beyond this field of siddhis. Go beyond this bliss. Keep going deeper and deeper. And let this become more real than anything else, that which is beyond the sensory experience, that which cannot be described, cannot be understood. Let that become more real than anything that can be understood, can be described. Even go beyond the bliss, even go beyond the peace, go beyond enthusiasm, go beyond everything you've known. Go beyond the fear of losing yourself. You will lose yourself. You will lose your false self. You will have to die to your small self to be born into your true self. So be a little brave. You will only lose what you're not. You will only lose what you never were. If you can lose it, it was not you to begin with, isn't it? So go beyond the fear of losing yourself and the life as you've known it. Again and again, the known world reasserts itself. Again and again, you shrink it down to nothingness. And you rest in that indescribable, inexplicable, ineffable, intangible, yet completely tangible state. More real than anything you've ever known. So real that you can't know it. It knows you. It doesn't just know you as a body and mind. It knows you as that most private part of yourself you call I, me. I decide, I see, I do. You've always looked at life from that vantage point. What a surprise when that is also known. as just another aspect of this creation, just another aspect of this dream. That's a revolution right there. When the subjective becomes the objective, Krishnamurti said, when the seer becomes the seen. And language, as you know, is necessarily limited. So when I say beyond seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, feeling, looks like there's something one step in front of it. But you could just as easily say within, underneath, at the heart of. What's within, underneath, at the heart of seeing? What's within, underneath, at the heart of hearing? So understand how cleverly it's hidden, that all language falls short. And nevertheless, make what is inconceivable, imperceptible, illogical, impossible, make that your foundation. Let the known world shrink back into nothingness, the nothingness it came from. Few lines from Wushin. You believe that there is nothing more than your God. Wushin says, there is nothing more than your God. And I am that nothing. You believe that there is nothing more than your God. Wushin says, there is nothing more than your God. And I am that nothing. What is the ground from which even the gods emerge? You are that ground. So today you've been offered a key to the prison. It's an invisible key to an invisible prison. A prison you didn't even know was a prison. To be limited within the world of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, birth and death is definitely a prison. The best prison is one where you don't even realize you're a prisoner, isn't it? Best, most clever prison ever invented. So today you've been handed a key to what's beyond the prison. It's an invisible prison, and the key is also invisible. The way out of the prison is not through the prison. The way out of the prison is denying the prison. Just looking past the prison. Refusing to focus on the prison. Refusing to go with the assumption that you are experiencing this life. Challenging such fundamental things. It's a completely unreasonable, illogical, even impossible offering, suggestion, invitation. But being the slightly crazy people you are, you will do it anyway. Being the illogical, unreasonable misfits that you all are, you will take on this invitation anyway, not knowing where it goes, not knowing if it'll make you mad. You might actually become mad. Or you might become sensible in a world that's mad. You'll still be seen as mad. And it's going to challenge the most core things you believe about yourself, who you are, what you're here for, whatever you imagine your purpose is, whatever meaning you give into this, that, and the other. It's going to challenge everything, every last thing. every last identity you have, every little fear you have, it's all going to get stirred up. And you will look right past it. Right past it. Beyond, within, inside, underneath. The freedom that's living right in the middle of all of this. The freedom in plain sight. What's obvious yet covered over. And that'll become your foundation. That is your foundation. You will know it to be your foundation. And outwardly, nothing much may change. You may continue to be an exceptionally flawed being. You may not become very saintly. You may not share your books or board games with people. You may not be particularly generous or kind or helpful. And even in that, there will be a flavor of freedom. The freedom to be you. The freedom to be. So a beautiful transmission has happened today. If you say you understand it, I'll be very disappointed. If you say you don't understand it, but it was fun, then that's more like it. If you tell me you had so-and-so experience while doing this, I'll again be disappointed. You went only half of the way. I think you're getting a sense of this.